Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Darell Campbell, Program Director for the Yunion Keys to Life program, a 6-week performing arts summer day camp held on Wayne State's campus. But first, this week's hot takes from Bridge Detroit. Legislation could bring $1 billion in transit funding to Metro Detroit over the next decade. And Detroit Icons launch series of Michigan Central festivities. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Cass Corridor at the WDET studios. We are a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. And since we didn't say it last week, happy Pride Month, everybody. I hope everyone got a chance to enjoy the festivities downtown over the weekend. And today, Donna and I are joined by Darell Campbell, who is Program Director for the Yunion Keys to Life Performing Arts Summer Camp Program, offering youth the opportunity to learn with some of Detroit's most experienced musicians, mentors, instructors, and industry professionals. Red,
hey,
welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Hey, y'all. That's huge. That was a cool introduction.
How you feeling?
Incredible, man. Incredible. Great time to be in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yes,
hey, Donna.
Hey.
I missed you.
I missed you too. You know, it's been a minute since we have been able to record together.
I know. You did such a magnificent job quarterbacking last week's episode.
When you get praise for not messing up, it's still praise, okay? I accept it all.
It was really, really good. How's the day finding you? How you doing?
It's good. It's good. I was talking earlier. I was so excited about this conversation today because I did have a chance. Now, you know me, so my name is Donna Wet Blanket Davidson, and sometimes when people get excited about things going on, I'm here to remind people of some of the history and things that people don't want to think about. I mean, Diana Ross was here and everybody was excited, and she looked amazing.
She is 80 years. That's 80.
80. She looked
years old.
Yeah, she's amazing, and it just. But she had a baby at like 70. I mean, okay, I'm exaggerating. I'm bad.
But she was up in age when she had
that last baby. Okay,
70,
it was
though.
like
How old is
okay,
Evan?
I'm exaggerating. She was about 60 though. She was very late in the game at an age where a lot of people thought women couldn't do it, and so she is an age defier. She's a woman who certainly does things, and I would like to believe all of us can do that at 80, but
she was 45 when she had Evan.
She was only 45?
Yeah, he's 35 years old.
Okay, well, I remember her being older, but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe when I was young, 45 seems super old, but I remember something different. But I'm going to go on and just say that she is a person who has defied a lot of age stereotypes, and she looked great. And people were really excited about the train station. I didn't get that excited about it because I feel like I had a question, is it a comeback or a take back? Ooh. And in between all the partying, I just wonder, and I had this thing and I posted on Facebook and it's like, okay, here I go. But, whenever people go and Conquest is always preceded with gifts and celebrations and all of these cool cultural exchanges before the army comes and they take it all back. And so I just want to be one of those people to remind us in the midst of celebration, keep your eye on the prize. And that is Black power is not something we should be willingly to give away. So
that's real.
That's wet blanket Donna. But on Friday, our friend Kim Jones invited us out to see his son Deshaun, and so I was like, well, I got to go to that. And it was amazing. What a wonderful way to spend a Friday evening. Kevin asked me, and I was like, okay, I guess so. And I got down there.
Shout out to DSA class of 05, 06? 06.
He's probably 06.
He's 06.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
That's
DSA. I am just so in love with DSA's graduates. I mean, first of all, they brought us Orlando. I used to see Aaliyah, but now you have all of these other people who have done great things, and he is one of them.
Yes, he is.
I have never heard anything.
Grammy Award nominated
twice.
Twice
nominated, right?
Yeah.
And I've never heard anything like the Urban Arts Orchestra. You had a rapper, and you had this drummer, and he was laying down the beat for this rapper, and the rapper was good.
Yeah.
You had...
We're going to get him on here.
Yes, we have to get him on here. We had Charity on there. Charity was on the stage, and you had Sheefy McFly, another graduate, on the stage. Class of 07. Just so many people. And then in the front, you had this guy who took a piece of clay, and he was sculpting right in front of us.
That's sweet.
And then to the left, you had this woman. I didn't recognize her, and she was painting, and I was like, she looks so familiar. Well, then I found out it was India Solomon. And the next day she got up and sang, but that's a whole nother story. But it was really a celebration of Black talent, and it made me realize the extent to which we have the opportunity to have the next music wave in the city of Detroit. So when I was a baby, you had Motown. And then in my years, when I was coming of age, you had the Detroit techno. Mm-hmm. And now you have this whole other sound. And I mean, between then you had Detroit hip hop, and I know the Detroit rappers have a different sound. But I want to throw this to you, and we're going to talk about this later. It feels to me like a lot of the singers, the women singers, have this Detroit sound, a little bit of grit, a little bit of beauty. And I was like, wow, I love this music.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I love to be in programs that help make that kind of thing happen, and give kids the opportunity to try stuff. I mean, that's like the biggest thing that I do right now. So like Keys to Life is one of those programs. It's like you get to try stuff. You don't have to have any experience, and the kids just come out like knowing how to at least figure out like they had an interest in it, and then they go on to the DSAs and CAS, and like they figure out like how to hone in on those things. But like Keys to Life is one of those programs. It's like try it out. Like you think you like music a little bit, like here it is. And then we got a bunch of industry professionals to help them figure it out. So.
And what does your sweatshirt say?
Hope dealer. I deal hope in the community.
And it's red.
I deal hope in the community.
All right.
I love it.
All right.
Every time I see like a performance artist, like a poet or music, and accompanying that artist is a painter, I think of that Tyler Perry movie where the lady's doing the poem and Boris Kodjoe is like painting, and one of the lines is, it's so hilarious to me, somebody has to have the courage to love, and he's doing the painting. I don't know why, I just always go back to that that particular scene, because the way that she orientates is hilarious.
I don't know that movie. He does.
Man, TP, shout out to Tyler Perry and the moments that he has given us.
Yeah, you have to give him credit for that. Well, no, he's given us moments. He's given us a part. You can like him or not, but he's part of our culture, because you know what, Medea will lives on. Okay,
she lives on. Absolutely. All right, y'all. It's time for hot takes. Legislation could bring $1 billion in transit funding to Metro Detroit over the next decade. This is by Brian Allnut for Planet Detroit. Proposed legislation could dramatically boost Michigan transit by providing $2 billion over the next 10 years to fund projects like bus rapid transit and commuter rail, which have often seemed out of reach in a state dominated by the automotive industry. This long-term plan includes the largest sustained investment in transit in Michigan's history. Representative Jason Morgan, Democrat out of Ann Arbor, a bill co-sponsor, said on Twitter. Yet the proposed legislation introduced introduced last week ties transit investments to an extension of economic development funding under what is being billed as Make It in Michigan Fund, previously called the SOAR Fund. The program has attracted criticism for spending large sums of money to attract what have often been low-paying jobs. Transit advocates and many lawmakers say the deal is too good to pass up, while others are weary of providing more subsidies for big business. The legislation would extend incentives for businesses due to expire next year by another decade, providing $2.5 billion for companies investing in the state. This represents a 50% reduction from the current annual spending on the SOAR Fund, although it effectively grows the total spending by extending it over 10 years. The new legislation sets aside money for investments in transit, housing, and community projects such as child care. Michigan Transit and Mobility Projects would receive $200 million a year, while housing and community projects would receive $100 million and $50 million, respectively. A new board, the Transformational Projects Authority, will award grants for the transportation projects. Representative Dylan Wedgela, a Democrat out of Garden City, said giving taxpayer money to wealthy corporations in order to secure public transit creates a set of false choices, and that he would prefer to see lawmakers vote on standalone public transportation legislation. Governor Gretchen Whitmer hasn't said whether she supports the legislation. In a statement to Plan in Detroit, Stacey LaRouche, the governor's spokesperson, said, like any legislation, we will review it as it moves through the process. Donna, what say you?
I just think that it's ridiculous that we're going to spend our way to social justice or invest our way to social justice. Investment will never mean justice. Investment means that somebody gets a return somewhere, and that return is never to poor folks, right? So it bothers me that we think that this is our approach to helping poor people. We've got to figure out an incentive for rich people to invest in housing, low-income housing tax credits, or an incentive for rich people to do things. That's actually what's neoliberal economics, right? And there was a time when Keynes economics, the idea that you invest in the workforce and you stabilize the workforce and it can help produce a stable economy, was the ruling ideology. And that got pushed out when we started having international competition. And now this idea that if you please rich people and if you find ways to free them up and invest in them, wealth and good things are going to trickle down, and it hasn't. So since we have replaced this idea of investing in the community, or spending money, not investing, but spending money in poor communities, spending money even when you understand that poor people don't produce a return. Spending money when you understand that public housing and public transportation and public libraries and public schools don't exist to enrich anybody. They exist to help stabilize our community and create, opportunity for all. So I push back against this. It's just another take on a bad, a bad approach to trying to do the right thing. I appreciate people saying, let's not give to all of those other businesses in that same way. Let's attach some strings, but I still don't think that's going to produce the kind of things we need in Detroit. We have subsidized the Q line so much. And now it looks like we're going to get brand new cars to the people mover, but we're not really talking about investing in the kind of transportation ever that's going to help the people who live in the lowest income, most depopulated parts of Detroit have access to jobs, food, basic amenities, basic quality of life amenities. So I'm pretty much opposed to this. I think we need to take another look.
Well, the disparity is glaring even in the amounts proposed in this legislation. We're talking about $200 million a year for Michigan Transit and Mobility Projects, while maybe $150 million in housing and community projects. But it's still very broad. It's not specific. And one of the things that's being left out of the narrative right now, especially when we talk about housing in Detroit, is we love talking about affordable housing. Whether or not it's truly affordable is another question. But I was at Chandler Park on Saturday, and the Detroit Symphony Orchestra was playing right near the empty Parkside Projects, which once the public housing. Most of it is empty now. There's no conversation happening around people who need public housing. What is the state of public housing in this state? What is the state of public housing in the city of Detroit? And I think we have learned time and time again, whether we're talking about Bush economics, whether we're talking about Reaganomics, and even Obama economics, that trickle-down politics and investment just does not work. When will we learn that it doesn't work? It does not work, and we need to figure out how to, do it another way. This is more of the same, and I know that we are smart enough to think of creative solutions to some of the systemic problems that we have.
But it's not that we're not smart enough; it's that we have decided that our approach is going to be enriching. It is going to be feeding our gods, which are the billionaires, and if our gods are happy, then they'll somehow. It's just pacifying our guides. Whatever it is that we want to do, we've decided not to focus on people. And this is all part of a planned, thing. It's not some accidental thing. It's all rooted in economic theory, which is causing problems all over the world. It's wreaking havoc on our environment. It makes it difficult for us to have any type of corporate controls or regulations because corporations are seen as, when they talk about, freedom, they're really talking about corporate freedom, not individual freedom. But, I think it's problematic when you talk about public housing because people blame the Detroit Housing Commission for the failures of public housing. And I actually met the interim director for the Public Housing Commission, a really nice woman. She says, there's just not enough money. We need to talk about money. You take this money and you're playing a shell game with money. Can you do things incrementally better? Yeah, probably. But when people are broke and when systems are broke and challenged as broke systems, then just changing the guard over and over and over again is not going to produce the outcomes that we want. So I agree with you on public housing, and I want to thank you for bringing that up because whether it's public housing or social housing, the way that they've done it in other nations, in the United States, we created housing for poor people. In other places, they created housing for poor and middle class and working people that they called social housing. And I think those systems are a little bit more sustainable. So I don't want to go back to a past. I want us to go forward into a future where housing is a human right. And we really invest in that.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is that the governor's office isn't really willing to, stake claim on either side of this right now, which is interesting. It's
the Democratic Party, and it has become, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party disagree on many things. But when it comes to the economic theory of low taxes, business incentives, all of those things, keep in mind right now, after the celebration, keep in mind that there's already a discussion about giving $250 million in subsidy to Ford for doing what they did at the train station. And now that everybody saw Diana Ross and everybody's really happy and everything, it just feels to me as though there's this gratitude. Look what they did for us. Look what they did for us.
When we paying for it. We paying for that too.
When billionaires spend billions of dollars, what do you think their houses look like? Right. Okay. Where do you think they live? You think it doesn't look as nice as that? These people have the capacity to do what they want to do. And the fact that they allowed it to get so neglected and want us to be grateful that now it's been fixed up in a monotone. I call it beige washing because everything is beige. I'm like, where's the color in here? But I mean, that's a.
They left some graffiti in there.
Well, okay. Yeah, not in the main stages. Let's make it gritty. Okay. But what I mean is that, when it's so beige, I was like, wow, this just feels so un-me. But anyway, my point is this. They can do it. They did what they could do. They have the resources to do that. And they've always had the resources to do that. They didn't want to do that until the big take back. And they're going to be enriched by what they've done. And so I just think it's important for us to put it in perspective and not celebrate so much rich people getting wealthy off of a taxpayer dime.
The thing that is glaring to me is the fact that at one point, wealthy white folks gave Detroit the middle finger, said F you, and moved out. Took their businesses, took their money, took their wealth with them. And now that they're choosing to come back, they want a party. And it's so asinine to me. You left and now you want a party to welcome your return. I can't get with it, but we're going to talk a lot more about this when we come back from the break. We're going to tee up this story. The Detroit Icons launch a series of Michigan Central festivities. What is it all about? We'll tell you when we come back. Keep it locked.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit. By Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
All right, and we are back. Detroit Icons launched series of Michigan Central festivities. This is by Michael Walker at Bridge Detroit. For more than 30 years, Michigan Central Station sat vacant and abandoned, a shell of a once bustling train depot that transported passengers across the Detroit River to Windsor and places as far away as Chicago and New York. But on Thursday, the Detroit landmark again was the star of the show, as 20,000 people gathered at Roosevelt Park outside the Corktown building for an all-star concert celebrating its grand reopening. Live from Detroit, the concert was a soulful, rocking, and at times spiritual production, paying tribute to the city's homegrown artists and their contributions to genres spanning R&B, hip-hop, rock, gospel, and techno. Motown icon Diana Ross opened the concert with the Pride Month anthem, I'm Coming Out. The event streamed live on Peacock, NBC's online video platform, and broadcasted locally on WDIV TV Channel 4 and its free Local 4 Plus app. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan and Ford Executive Chair Bill Ford and CEO Jim Farley made appearances. The concert kicked off Ford Motor Company's and Michigan Central's Michigan Central Open, an 11-day celebration featuring short films, appearances by local leaders, exhibits, entertainment, and art installations, as well as an open house of the renovated station. Other Thursday highlights included rapper Big Sean, who introduced a new song and played hits like Bounce Back and Bless. He also spoke on Michigan Central's revival. The fact that it's gone through all this pressure, it is a diamond that came back from the rough, he said. After the 11-day reopening celebration wraps on June 16th, Michigan Central will begin a phased reopening of the station over the next several months as restaurant, retail, and other commercial and community-focused partners open in the space. The first floor will begin to be open to visitors for self-guided tours on Fridays and on Saturdays. Expanded hours will be announced for the fall. A lot of activity, a lot of excitement. Donna, what say you?
Well, I think there's some good things that happened, and on the second day, I mean, Big Sean.
And on the first day.
On the first day. I didn't see the first day,
yeah.
So I can only speak to the second day. I'm sure you can speak to the first day.
Yeah.
Big Sean should just stick to rapping. I don't think his commentary on Detroit was well received at all.
Very cringy. I think NBC cut it out. I'll have to go back and watch this special, but you know, him speaking extemporaneously, I'm sure was not in the show.
Yeah. Would have been better in the show is to have our own Detroit historian, Jamon Jordan, giving some history.
Yeah.
It would have been good to open it up and to share that history with the world audience on Peacock. I mean, not just locally, because so many people don't know our history. And again, this gets celebrated as Detroit is coming back. I think providing some nuance to that would have made a lot of people feel better, at least maybe just me, feel a little bit better in the celebration. But there were some great musical acts, and I think people enjoyed a lot of the people who were there, the Clark sisters. And
they look good.
Yeah.
You hear me? And not only do they look good, they still sound amazing. It's so funny how folks can transition from like Bounce Back and, a tribute to Bob Seger, and then in the same breath lifting up their hands in worship saying, you brought the sunshine. I mean, what an amazing, it was an amazing vibe to just see Detroit out, man, and the performances. It was really great. But I still hold true around like this need for white wealth to be celebrated when they decide to come back to a space. I just disagree with it. But I want us to continue to take up space down there and be seen down there, because I know that this, Donna talked about the subsidy, right? That's probably more than likely going to, be approved. We paid for it. This is our spend.
Yeah.
I mean,
keep in mind too, and this is my last comment, my last negative comment. This isn't a part of the city that has literally pushed out all the poor people. Yeah. Corktown used to be an affordable community, and you had a long-standing historical Mexican community there. It is now some of the priciest, if not the priciest, real estate in Michigan. And so in between all of the celebrations, the real estate, actually, the housing has increased in value faster than even the businesses have increased in value, because this idea that we can do this here. And it really does concern me that we're not looking at, as we talk about housing, the justice impacts of that community.
Yeah.
Darell, what do you think?
It's funny because the more I'm putting together pieces, I was thinking about it, but I wasn't thinking about it. I put this thing on Instagram. I was like, hey, so now the thing is over. Where are the trains? And we keep calling the train station. Ain't no trains. So it's okay, so we got to at least rename the building. But then so I was being goofy with that. But then the more I think about it, the more I'm listening to you guys, I'm like, it was still just a show. It was completely a show. Even with the Detroit artists that performed, we were completely in the background. And then they flew in a bunch of LA guys who do all the other, big things. So I love, the people who do those big shows and stuff like that. But they flew them in for it. And they flew them in for a reason. And so when you say they cut out the Big Sean part, that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that they made a show out of.
Well, his part should have been cut out. I think the special. I had an opportunity to look at the special yesterday, just a little bit, and what it was being billed as was a concert.
Yeah.
And so we don't see Mayor Duggan on there. We don't see the governor's remarks on there. All of them had remarks and talked about the history of the train station. And we don't really see a lot of what Sean said, thankfully, because it was very very cringy. I think that it is on folks like the black folks that work at Michigan Central, who know the value of a Jamon Jordan coming to give history, is on us who know that value to continue to create culturally intelligent programming that explain that history. I understand how media works, and I understand that they build it as a concert, and that's literally what it was on that special yesterday.
If we had all the other stuff, would it have really been on Peacock?
I don't know. I don't know. That's also why it is incumbent on us, who are also in the media industry, to begin to push for stuff like that. I know it's billed as a concert, but we have to set some historical context to this concert and to this celebration, and that was missing from the special yesterday that aired.
There's a whole lot missing from the Union Station and its telling of history. I watched the little thing. There's not a mention of Coleman Young in there. There's no picture of Coleman Young in there. There's no mention. If you ask most Detroiters about the history that matters, the pride that matters, it was certainly having all of the black leadership in this city. And so you can show Motown, but you can't show black political leaders, and you can't show black social leaders. And so it felt to me as though this is erasure. You're showing the city until you left, and now you're showing the city as you come back. And it's everything that happened in between is just a blank space. And if you want to really talk about Detroit in a real way, you can talk about Parliament Funkadelic, okay? You can talk about the fact that they came up out of this city. You can talk about more than just the Vandellas, but when you have the Vandellas and Marvin Gaye, and now you move forward, then my whole childhood and my coming of age and the things I've done in this community that I loved are just not here anymore. And it's why I try telling people that when
that's a different kind of trauma.
That
what you are explaining is a different kind of trauma, to see things rise, and to see and you actually having things and are attached to things, and to see those things go away or become erased. That is traumatizing.
It was at the point where Kevin's looking at, and I said, I have to leave here. I was feeling claustrophobic. I just felt like crying. I don't know why am I standing in this train station feeling like this, and I felt really bad because he's looking like, ooh, and I'm like, can we just go? I just have to go right now. And I didn't understand it until then, but I loved Detroit growing up. I loved the people in Detroit growing up. I've always loved Detroit. I've never wanted to live anywhere but Detroit. I mean, I've lived a little bit outside Detroit, about Southfield, but you know what I mean? Detroit has always been the center of my life. And so people left. And when they left, black people who were relegated to 2 or 3 neighborhoods were able to move anywhere in the city. When they left, black people who were not able to have certain positions took every kind of job in the city. We had all of these black doctors and all of these black engineers and black bankers and black foundation officers and black pastors and black teachers. And you had Dr. Cotton, who was able to form DSA. I'm going to say this again, shout it out, because that would not have happened outside of Black Detroit. Yeah. All of this is so significant, and there's got to be a way that our history is incorporated into the new Detroit. And people don't just come back and say, hey, we're here to fix things, because some of what they're fixing wasn't broken. And some of what they're fixing, they broke, and they don't bring accountability to the table. Instead, they bring billions and want $250 million in tax incentives. And so it's emotional for me, and I just kept feeling it, and I was trying to struggle with this because I don't want to stop anybody celebrating. I had people texting me saying, hey, this isn't the time when such beautiful celebrations to talk about that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. But then I actually had one person who works for the Detroit, Michigan Central, that's what it's called, right? With Michigan Central, actually go on, say, you know what, James Baldwin, and reference James Baldwin in all that I was saying. And I really appreciated this person actually acknowledging the fact that two things can be true.
Two things can be true at the same time.
At the same time.
So we can celebrate, and you know, it's always on the other hand. Celebration and grief is always hand in hand. And I think that we have to just, number one, continue to be honest. And I don't ever want to get to a place where honesty becomes radical. Yeah. Like Donna being honest about where she's coming from and what this means to her is now radical. It's like but it's the truth. Yeah. Like, but we know that truth these days are radical. But yeah, more to come. And you know, I think that based upon the people that I know who work on the inside, they really want to get it right. And I know that they are listening, and I know that they're hearing, and I'm anxious to see what comes next. But if you were there and had a good time, shout out to you. If you watched and had a good time, shout out to you. If you watched and you grieved and still had a good time, shout out to you. All of these things, all of these feelings are true and are valid all at the same time, y'all. I was there. I had a blast. I loved it. All right, y'all. If you have more topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Detroit youth with a passion for music and performing arts have an opportunity this summer to learn from some of Detroit's most experienced musicians, mentors, industry professionals, and instructors through a program offered by a nonprofit organization, the Yunion, called Keys to Life. K2L is a dynamic, immersive 6-week performing arts summer day camp that is held at Wayne State University's campus in collaboration with the Maggie Allesee Department of Theater and Dance beginning July 1st. Now in its 11th year and serving more than 1,125 students, the program's mission is to inspire and empower the next generation of performers through a diverse range of performing arts experiences such as beat making, dance, and songwriting, all designed to expand participants' skills, broaden their horizons, and set them on a path to success. The program's director, Darell Red Campbell, is a Platinum Stellar Award-winning producer, musician, songwriter, and teacher with a heart for creating opportunities for other children like he had at a young age and empowering them to find hidden talent and potential within themselves. What an amazing opportunity for young people to sit under your tutelage and learn and hear what you got to say.
That's backwards. I feel like I'm the one that's got the privilege every day to hang out with the kids. So yeah.
Well,
we're super excited to have you here. Donna is like jumping at the bit because, you know, cultural and arts programming for students doesn't get the amplification that it should. Number one, we love the Union, right? We love Jason Wilson and you know all that they do. But you are stewarding and shepherding this program. How long have you been involved?
At least 7 years now.
Wow.
Like I came up through the ranks. I was the beat making teacher at once. No, actually, I was the special guest. And like there was camp going already. I came in one day and it's like did a beat making production seminar for an hour, and then I became the beat making teacher, and now I'm the director. So
so you're the director of this summer camp, or are you a director all year round?
All year round. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And there's a summer camp, but
He said, listen.
No, I'm just wondering if these types of activities are taking place year round or just in this summer camp.
Yeah, because the whole thing is to get into schools. Like we do a lot of after school programming and stuff like that. So like we're at a couple of schools maybe twice a week. And then the goal is to get into schools because, we don't have a lot of arts programs in schools.
Yeah. We want to talk about the Union, but first we want to talk about you. Tell us about you. Who are you? Who raised you? Where you from?
you read all that stuff,
gift?
Man.
Yeah.
What was cool though, like coming up, I went to CAS. I know we said a lot about
it's all good. Shout out to CT.
Yeah, I went to CAS, but like I had all these amazing mentors. So like once I figured out I wasn't going to be a good football player, it was like, I'm going to do music. And then I had Marcus Belgrave and I had all these like great people around and like just kept instilling in me, put me in these super dope positions. Like I ended up touring when I was 19.
Did you see the jazz documentary where they were talking about the significance of Marcus?
Absolutely. And you know that Tamashian his son actually works for me at the Union too. So like
wow.
yeah. So like, I saw that whole thing and Deshaun and like, all of that. But like my thing is that I had these super dope mentors that kept putting me in amazing spaces. And as I got older, I realized I didn't want to be on tour anymore, and I came home and I'm like, I can do that. And that's
talk about your origin point for music. Where did it start? Where did this?
My dad plays, so
What does your dad play?
My dad plays guitar. He still plays guitar. It was one of those like random. I'd always hang out with my dad, and I sat on the stairs one day and watched him push buttons. And then he was like, "You can play with the stuff," and I'm like, "Cool." And then so I recorded an album. Literally, I recorded an album like that week. And he was amazed and mad at the same time because I recorded over all this stuff. And so like it was like, and we had reel to reel back then, so that's how old I am. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that's my thing. I just been figuring out stuff since I was a kid. Yeah, so, yeah.
I think I love musical families. I love artistic families because I think that we understate how significant it is that people are exposed to that at home.
Yeah.
So talk about your dad's experience as a musician too, and how beyond did he have a good experience? Was this a hobby?
Yeah. No, he had a really good. Like my dad raised us on music, and it's like in Detroit. Like I was born in the '80s, had all the fun stuff, played football, we traveled. Me and my brothers had a great upbringing, and all he did was played.
Okay.
And I didn't figure out like till I was in my mid-20s, like that was wild. Like my dad played guitar my whole life and raised a family. We always had a house. We always had food. It was like, that's hard.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so that gives you an understanding that that's something that you could do.
That's something I could do. And then like I always had the opportunity to try stuff. I always had it. Every chance I wanted to, when I wanted to play guitar, there was a guitar. There was a bass, a keyboard, drums. There was always stuff just around. And I was able to just try it.
Speaking of Detroit's history, right? When you look at Motown, it's one of those things you hear about these young people and they go to school and they start performing and stuff like that. And I was watching this thing that Isabel Wilkerson, is that her name, Isabel?
Yeah. Cast, Warmth of Other Suns.
Yes, it is Isabel. She has a TED Talk on the Great Migration.
Okay.
And she talks about how
Mm-hmm.
when people were, in sharecropping situations, they didn't have the time, the freedom to develop these musical talents.
Okay.
And somehow people moved to Detroit. In Detroit, pianos in the home and parents working, that somehow people acquired childhoods in some ways and teenage years where they could explore and do things that childhoods were not necessarily, where childhood was possible. And I thought that was a really significant Detroit story. And so that the musical development in Detroit started long before Motown.
Yeah.
It was there, and that's how Motown happened here.
Yep.
But then after Motown, it continued.
Yeah.
And I don't think people are conscious of that uninterrupted, kind of narrative around music in Detroit.
Yeah, and that's also one of those things, like there was an infrastructure already with music programs in the schools, and then why were there pianos in the houses already? Like why was that a thing that kids took piano lessons and then, became neat? Diana Ross was a young kid and Martha Reeves, they were kids. Stevie Wonder could play things at a young age. Like there was an infrastructure already that said this is available and you should try it.
Ooh, yeah.
And that infrastructure, as you pointed out, seems to have dried up a little bit in schools.
A little, we were talking about institutional things that they are what they are. I think music across the country is like one of those, like we don't need it anymore, but you don't have a celebration without music anywhere. So when I would say when COVID happened, people figured out that we need art again.
Oh man.
And then
like no other time.
Yeah. And then we were trying to find a new way to do it.
Yeah.
And so like tying it in, these programs do it. Like we've got kids now with technology and cell phones and stuff where you can do beats on cell phones and you can do scoring on things and so I think this is the time to like marry some of those ideas.
We're going to talk about exposure when we come back. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Red Campbell.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the Neighborhood Tech Hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
All right, welcome back to Authentically Detroit. We have Red Campbell here, and we were talking about exposure, right? I always say that young people can't dream about, they can't try, they can't aspire to anything that they've not been exposed to. Yeah. You are in the business of exposure.
Literally.
Talk about what happens on the inside of you when you see a light come on for a young person.
Dude, it's so cool for me. So even in camp this year, like we're doing performing arts, but we're taking the kids camping because that's like one of those things like to see an inner city kid out there.
Oh, that's so much fun.
And like,
we used to do that too at ECN. Donna, I don't know if you remember, we used to take the kids to Camp Tanuga every year.
Craziest thing. Yeah. It's the dopest thing to see like just a kid who doesn't even see this stuff ever, but like they're on a canoe. And then like they're around this community of other kids who are trying it's so cool for me. So like it just lights something in me. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I have a question about your upbringing, and I want to talk about the program. But you were a good student, right?
Actually, no.
Well, you went to Cass.
Yeah.
How'd you get in?
I was a good person.
Oh.
To be honest, I mean, and I talk about it even in the program because half of our day is like life skills anyway, and just like how to be a good person. But I wasn't a good student because I figured out early that I didn't need school. I was like, the institution of school didn't make sense to me. You wanted me to do homework for stuff that I knew I wasn't going to do. So it's like I was not a great student. I was a good person. I didn't, do stuff that was outside of the rules, like so crazy. But I was like, I'm not. Yeah, so no, I wasn't.
He was one of those.
I was one of those
kids.
If you get in and now you have to stay in.
Yeah.
And you were able to stay in Cass?
I did enough. I did enough.
Okay, so you were a good student.
I'm gonna say, I tell the kids all the time, I was a good person.
Okay.
But my study habits were terrible.
Not a good enough student to pass your classes.
Stay in
because
absolutely.
Everybody didn't stay.
Yeah.
You know, a whole lot, and I know, in
Cass
those
like to kick
schools,
people out.
Cass, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that people see that, though, because a lot of times people have a way of putting people in boxes.
Yeah.
And saying either you're good at math or you're good at music.
Exactly.
Either you're good at music or you're good at art. And it feels like a lot of students, when they learn that they're really good at something, that's that whole brain development that carries over into other things, whether you study or not.
Yeah. So what's big for me, and why I even stopped you there, is what's big for me is to let these kids know they're good people. Like if you don't get good grades, if you don't pass every test, you're still a good person. And that's super huge for me to let the kids know, like, you are still a good person. You didn't fail because you didn't do good in algebra. What is it that you really like? Where are your passions? And then like lay stuff out and let them try it. Yeah. Like, so that's why it was so important for me to be
I understand. And I agree with you. I mean, just because you fail a test doesn't mean you're not smart.
Exactly.
And just because you fail algebra doesn't mean that you cannot perform algebra. A lot of times the reason you're failing is because it's not taught to you correctly.
Exactly.
Because you aren't putting in the kind of effort. There's a lot of research that shows the more effort you put into anything, the better you get.
Yeah.
And so helping young people understand that if you put in more effort, you might get a better grade, and also understanding where the barrier is. But we tend to put kids in categories of smart not smart. And I agree with you that we don't want to categorize young people. So it's beyond being a good person, though. There's also, I want people to know that they are brilliant and that they are capable of all things, even if you don't do all things. And some people access more parts of themselves than others. But it's exciting to me that you're doing this music. Can you talk more about your program?
Yeah. So like I said, half of the day is life skills. And we're just teaching kids like just to have a community where they can share and feel vulnerable. Like you can just say like, I'm not good at math, but I do like singing. I do like art. I do like beat making. And then just to have a community of other young people where they can share that, where it makes sense to the other kids. And they're like, you're not the weird one. Like we're all kind of weird and it's kind of cool.
Permission to be weird is so
and audacity
important.
And courage.
And I'm just pushing back because beat making is math.
Absolutely.
You can't have beats without math.
Absolutely.
You may not be good at math tests, and you may not perform in school, but beat making is math.
The point is you were a good student.
Yeah, and okay.
No, it's not that. The point is that a lot of times, most black kids, if you ask them, are you good at math? Most black kids will say no.
Yeah.
And they'll believe that only smart kids are good at math. So I did a lot of research at one point to understand the difference.
Help us.
And the reality is that we have these math identities, right? So if you ask an Asian kid, in a lot of instances, a Chinese kid, are you good at math? They'll say yes. You ask a black kid, are you good at math? You say no. So one time I did this experiment. I was talking to a youth group and I said, ask the question, and all the kids said no. And I said, are you good at basketball? And they all said yes. And I said, okay, how many hours a day do you practice math? And they're like, what? Well, that's not fair because math is fun. Basketball is fun. And I said, okay, basketball is fun if you're good. I'm not good at basketball. It's not fun for me, okay? The ball gets taken away. I can't hit the basket. It's only good. But you will do things to become good at basketball because you expect to be good at basketball.
That's real.
Okay? You don't expect to be good at math, and therefore you stop. We have been conditioned to believe that we don't have the same kind of brains as people who are Chinese, and our brains work just as well as theirs. So when we understand that, we don't have to become mathematicians, but we have to understand that these are all choices. People have overcome those fears and actually become good in the fields they didn't think they could be.
What's real about that too is because now we've added ELA and math in our performing arts camp. And it's like, what are we supposed to do there? And we call it creative numbers. And we're just figuring out different ways to like be creative with numbers and to show kids like they can
I
be
love
good at
the ELA part. Talk a little bit about that.
So the ELA, if we're renaming Expressive Language Arts, and we're going to do a lot of poetry and a lot of short stories.
Amazing.
And by the end of the 6 weeks, they're going to have their own short stories, and they're going to have a book that we're going to publish of their short stories and their poems and the things that they came up with all summer.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay. So like just logistically tell folks around like how they can enroll the parent. Like, is it full? Yeah. Cause parents are looking for stuff.
It is, but we have a waiting list. And so we're keeping the kids in the waiting list, and cause we want to fill it up. We want every seat full. But the Yunion.org is where you find that information. You can
spell it.
Cause that's important. The YUNION.org is where you find the application, and just the waiting list is still open until next Monday. And we're gonna fill up every seat. It won't be an empty seat in that camp.
I'm really, really excited about it because I think, going back to this point that we were making earlier, I think that when we give each other permission to be weird, or to come off weird, it is powerful. I think DSA, back when I was there, was a microcosm of that, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's where the world should aspire to get to, right? My proclivities may seem weird until it isn't, right? Until it becomes, like mainstream. I really think that there are so many young people here in the city of Detroit who have not found themselves just yet because they've not been exposed to this kind of art.
Not had the opportunity to figure things out.
There
should be more. There should be more tables full of stuff.
Yeah, it should be some stuff to try. More stages to stand on. I remember like walking onto a stage and I'm like, okay, this is it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I am so comfortable there. There's no fear. More young people need to be able to explore.
And they never forget it either. Like, you remember that time back in 2013 when you did the play about I run into kids every day and they're like, do you remember me? I'm like, I see 100 kids a day.
Oh, you're that old now.
I am that old, but I'm like, I don't remember, but they never forget.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I think, it's important. When I was working in a nonprofit many years ago, I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we used to ask parents. We had these, intake forms. And I was, vice president of programs trying to figure out, how to improve our intake and matching process. So I was reading the intake forms for young people and the interviews of parents. And I would say, what is your kid best at? And a lot of parents couldn't name one thing.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I said, there's parents who go to school and all they hear is what their children don't do well.
Yep.
Your child is bad. They don't listen to teachers. They're not good at math. They're not good at reading. They're not good at writing. And so I thought, what if we could create a program where kids can be good at something?
Yeah.
And we created an arts program because it's like, okay, young people can be good at something. And if you figure out you can be good at something, that can encourage you to become good at something else.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. If it's not math, it encourages you to stick with it. Have you seen changes in performance and outcomes in young people who find out that they're good in these arts?
That's really, really, really cool. We also do something else in summer program that we have these family breakfasts every week, because we want the parents to be involved in what their kids are figuring out. So like while they're developing and figuring out that they like to be a singer, they like to be on stage, we want to provide parents with the resources and the opportunity, like, how do I listen to my kid? What is it that they're doing? Like, what's important to them? And so every week now we do these big breakfasts where we like invite the parents to come out, hang out for a few hours at camp, and like watch your kid. And they have the courage now to tell you, like, I'm good at this. I like this. I want to try this. And so, like, yeah, that's another thing that we do.
What age kids do you work with?
11 to 13-year-olds.
All right. And then how are they selected? Just first come, first serve?
Yeah, just first come, first serve. And the other cool thing is, after 13, when they age out, I hire them to help me run camp. So, like, I hired 56 of them this year.
You hired 56 young people?
56 kids, because there's to be 140 kids. So, like, there's 50 kids, 50
what
teenagers.
Paid?
What's that?
What are they paid?
They're paid through the GDYT grant.
Okay.
Yep. Uh-huh. So, like, that helps us to pay, so they get a summer job. And it's something that they helped to develop. Like at 11 to 13, they were in the program, and now they help me run it, and that helps me not go crazy.
We used to do the same thing with Youth on the Edge of Greatness.
Not necessarily 56.
Not that big.
We need it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we do need it, but you don't have 56 kids who are counselors. Then you have to have how many people to supervise those 56 young people to supervise those 100 and some young people? Because really, you are.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
I mean, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. I was just wondering, what does the staffing look like, and how much work is it? Because that would be ideal. I mean, we're going to hire about 30 this summer, and that's a lot for us.
Yeah.
But they're not watching 60 younger people. That feels like even more.
It's cool because, first of all, they've been through camp. So, like, these are kids that I already had, like, relationship with, and like I figured they know me, like they know the culture of the camp and stuff like that, and they go through training that starts in the spring, so they've already been you have to start early. The Union, Loving Youth and Uniting Families, it'll be 20 years old next year. Talk a little bit about the visionary Jason Wilson and the overall mission of the organization. Another just great dude. Like I find myself in these situations around these just great dudes. Like me and Jason get to talk just in the hallways and stuff like that. And he like cares about people, not just like, oh, there's a boss that cares about his employees. No, he cares about people, and like what resources can we provide for families, and like where can the union be implement things that are missing in schools and missing in the community. So like it's a blessing to be able to be in the union and like in around Jason and around Nicole. Like they're just great people. Yeah, great people.
Now, do you work with other organizations?
I do. And the funny thing is, like, I like to compartmentalize myself, but like I do. I work for I basically work for myself, but I find these programs where I get to do what I love to do. But yeah, I work for the Union. I do work for the Motown Museum, where there's a amazing thing happening with Hitsville Next. I work for Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I work for Civic Youth Ensembles. I work for Detroit Achievement Academy. So like,
sometimes you sleep.
Yeah, I'm sleeping after this for sure. Like my assistant canceled the rest of my day because she's like, "You need to sleep." Yeah, so yeah, I sleep.
Yeah. Does your organization partner with other organizations that are nonprofits, or is all of your partnership inside of schools?
No, we partner just wherever we can fit in. Basically, if it works, we do it. We find a way to make it work. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we have a phone call that we need to make to you in our work with young people, because we're looking at what you do with young people, and it's like, wow. Some of these young men really need, what is it, the Abdullah cave?
Oh, the cave. Yeah, the cave of Abdullah. Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And some of those young guys work for camp too. There's about 5 of them from the cave that work for Keys too. Yeah. Those are that's a real program.
Wow. I love it. All right, give people the information on where they can go to sign up one more time before we head out.
The Yunion.org. That's Union with the Y, YUNION.org. We're all the socials too. Keys to Life Camp. And you can just find us and that's it. Registration's open until Monday.
I love it. If you have topics that you want discussed on the podcast, hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Red, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's a lot of fun, man.
This is super, super dope. And you guys are doing incredible work. So
thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank you
us.
so much.
Yeah.
He's a good person.
He is.
He's a good
I'm
person.
so glad to meet you. Like I said,
I'm really happy to meet
we've
him.
actually wanted to partner with you, so I can't
sweet.
wait to have that conversation.
Yeah, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Donna, do you have any shout outs?
I do.
All right.
I want to shout out, first of all, just Sean Jones.
Yeah, that's
oh
me.
my goodness. What a breath of fresh air. I want to shout out Charity. I thought she was amazing. She's got so much stage presence and so much heart. And I read her story and I just was so moved by it, so I just want to shout her out. And then I want to shout out Clorinda Harrison. I saw her and she was at the event and she helped pull together all of the entertainment and helped make sure that the right people were in the right place. Great job, all of you. There's so many people I could shout out there, but those are 3 shining lights from my week this past weekend.
All right, Red. You got any shout outs?
I wasn't even ready to shout out people, but I definitely want to shout out a lot of my graduates. I've been going to graduations like every week now and open houses and stuff like that. I'm so proud of these kids for, graduating from, these going to these universities now and things like that. So I'm shouting out all of my graduates.
All right. Shout out to the graduates. I have a few shout outs. I want to shout out the amazing team at Outlier Media. I have completed my first week. I am on day 6 right now as we speak. And the culture and the atmosphere there is one that I thrive in, and it's one that everybody else is thriving in. And I'm super, super excited to continue to sink my teeth into this organization and innovate and lead like only we can. I also would like to shout out the now Dr. Cedric Mutabi.
Goodness.
Who graduated from the Wayne State Medical School on Friday, had his graduation open house on Saturday, where I ran into Patrick Lindsay and Charles Walker, and who is moving to his placement in Norfolk. Somewhere in Chicago. He's moving to Chicago tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Tuesday for everybody. So I want to shout out Dr. Cedric Mutabi. I met him when he was a first or second year in medical school, and he and I connected, and he clanged to me, I clanged to him, and we've been tight. I mean, really tight ever since. Really a mentee-mentor relationship where he's the mentor, I'm the mentee. I've been learning so much from him.
He is a bright and shining
light.
What
a beacon. What a beacon. We we love you. We are rooting for you. And we can't wait we got to have you on the show. We got to have you back on the show because he's been on the show before when he started along with some other medical students healing between the lines at Wayne State. And shout out to Cornetta Lane. It's her Cornetta Lane Smith. It's her birthday today. And she was also a part of that planning team that Clorinda led and making sure that, we was there at the Michigan Central opening. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.